Well, your time's up, ladies and gentlemen. Time to quit eating your coffee cake and your chips and whatever else you got. But I've got an announcement for you. We have, ladies and gentlemen, where'd my bell go? It's gone. We have a blue light special back there in aisle 3. American Christianity. I wrote this book earlier this year, and it's a little bit of a history book, history, theology, sort of all woven into one, going back to colonial days, really talking about how we got from colonial fervor to contemporary compromise. There we go. The journey there. And if you like a little history, you want to meet a few people, you want a picture of William Jennings Bryan. This book even has pictures in it. Thanks, Everett, for doing that. Oh yeah, and Horace Bushnell, Henry Ward Beecher, got all that in there. This is a deal for you because this book is $17.95, worth $95.95. On sale today for only $5. You get a $5 deal because it's seconds. I don't have it online. Sorry, you got to come here because like the cover got trimmed a little close there. So it's just not pretty is the only thing about it. But everything on the inside is, it's perfect. Same words, same all that kind of stuff. So pick you up a $5 book and read it and then sell it on the internet for $5. Be a free book for you. Those are back there at the bookstore. Okay, why doesn't our choir come forward here today? We're going to sing a little choir song to get us started in session number 4. Those of you online, glad you're here with us as well. And Luca, why don't you play the piano for this one, okay? I'll look on with him. Go for it.
Come on, Rich.
Our Taos Tabernacle Choir is a big one today. Have you practiced, Luca?
I did.
No? Do your best, okay? Give him a hand, ladies and gentlemen. And now we come into session number 4. And we're going to look at the origin of Satan. Now we're going to come in and we're going to talk about spiritual warfare, what has gone on, what will go on. And again, we want to look at this from a biblical point of view to say what we can actually know about the Bible. Of course, I think you would agree with me that the first degree of spiritual warfare, or the first time we see spiritual warfare, is in the Bible in Genesis chapter 3, when Satan did come along as that cherub talking to the angel, again, I think in his beauty. And says to him, as we saw earlier in Genesis chapter 3, verse 1, hath God said, yea, hath God said. That so much becomes the basis of the way he works, twisting the words of God, sowing doubt in the minds of believers, so he comes and carries that out. Now, let's jump to another place of spiritual warfare. That was spiritual warfare in the garden, if you will. I think there are plenty of times we could look between Genesis 3 and Job chapter 1, but let's go to Job chapter 1. Actually, I'm going to share it with you because there's a number of verses there in Job 1 and Job 2 in which Job comes before a heavenly council. I wish we knew a lot more about this. John and I were talking about the heavenly council in the break there, and where does the council meet? You know, Bobby? Okay. I was wondering if it's behind your house somewhere back there in the woods or not. Where does the heavenly council meet? I don't know where the heavenly council meets, but it does appear that Satan shows up at this heavenly council during the time of Job in whatever his nature is and wherever that place is. A lot of, it's one of those things that brings about as many questions as it does answers. But when they get there, Satan does come forward and said, I believe the Lord starts out the conversation actually and says, have you considered my servant Job? Look at him. Now, this is a guy that's got it together. And Satan comes as here, the accuser of the brethren, I think, says, yeah, sure, you're the richest man in the East. It's easy for you to be godly. But you take that stuff away from him, he'll curse you and die. He'll be done. And the Lord, again, as you know, says, okay, we'll put that to the test. We'll let that. We'll see what happens, and we know, of course, how that all ends up. But Job is accused of not being sincere in his faith because he's just got it easy, and so Satan receives and gets permission to afflict him. And I think you would agree, knowing the story of Job, you would agree that even then that permission to afflict him is limited in what he can do. He's got a leash on him. He's allowed to do some things that he doesn't appear to be allowed to do prior to receiving permission. He wasn't already trying to cut Job off at the knees. It's only when God said, okay, you can go do it. Now, that ought to tell us something that we'll see later on today in this session as we begin to look at it and say, okay, what permissions does God have today? Does he now have permission? Does he have free reign? Can he run wherever he wants? Does he accuse the brethren? Does he bring us one challenge, one problem after another? And with that, let's go to Revelation chapter 12, verse 10, if we will. And you see a little bit of the same kind of heavenly council work and some of the same thing that is taking place in the future Revelation. As John says, I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now has come salvation and strength and the kingdom of God, the power. It says, for the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accuse them before God day and night. Now, I have been saying it wrong here, and I knew there was something persnickety about that, and there's a pronoun in there, not the accuser of the brethren, which we typically say, but the accuser of our brethren. The accuser of our brethren. Again, I think this is a reference to the Jewish people, but that's a conversation for another day. But he comes here in the future, and there is the celebration of something that by the time they're celebrating it, it has already happened. Notice this is somewhat past tense. The accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them. Now, when did that happen? The way you read Revelation in chapter 12, verse 10, it looks like they're celebrating that this just happened. So I would surmise anyway that Satan still has some access into heaven, at least this heavenly council, which may or may not be held behind Bobby's house. This heavenly council that takes place wherever and whenever it meets, that there may be still Job coming and accusing our brethren like he did, Satan coming and accusing our brethren like he did for Job, and the adversary, Satan, or the accuser, Satan, comes and they are celebrating, okay, someday this is going to end. Again, this says he is only allowed to do certain things. He does those only under God's permission. And there comes a point where he will not be able to do them at all. The accuser of our brethren will be cut down. Now, what does he do? What has he done, according to the Scripture, here on earth? Not in the Garden of Eden, not in the council of heaven, but right here in the place that you and I live, what has he done, at least in the past? And we see a few things. Let's go to Ephesians chapter 2, verse 2, where we have a string of titles that's given to us. But here he is called the Prince of the Power of the Air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. Now, there he's called that again in a present tense kind of way, that at the time of the Ephesians, he is referred to, assuming that we're right that this is Satan, and I think we are, he is referred to as the Prince of the Power of the Air. Now, what does that mean? Prince is a term that means ruler. Don't take it the way we might in our modern sense of prince in the terms of wannabe king, someday going to be king. Son of a king, yeah, there we go. Not necessarily the son of the king. A prince, as it's translated here, the word means the ruler. He's in charge. Okay, the ruler of the power of the air. Well, what in the world is the power of the air? I think it's regulated by the FCC, if I'm not mistaken. It's probably not what it's talking about, right? The power of the air, again, sounds to be like this is something that is in the spiritual world, not in the material world. And he is the prince of that, the prince of the power of the air. He is the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. This is read, or as you read it just in its normal working, this doesn't sound like just an emanation of evil that's going about. Sounds like we're talking about the devil here. And if we add to that 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4, we add another title, not only the Prince of the Power of the Air, the Spirit that now worketh in the children of obedience, but here he's called the God of this world, in whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine upon them. So he's, again, described, at least in that day in the first century, as the God of this world who blinds unbelievers, preventing them from perceiving or understanding the gospel. Now, let's look at a couple of more. I tell you what, while you go to 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 18, because it takes a long time to spell Thessalonians, I am going to remind you all of Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 through 11, which we won't read all of, but Matthew 4 is the account of the temptation of Jesus. And at the temptation of Jesus, Jesus meets Satan. They have a conversation, And at one point, Jesus and Satan go to a very high mountain, you remember. And on that high mountain, Satan offers something to Jesus. What does he offer? The kingdoms of the world. I'll give you, look at all of them out here. I will give them to you. Jesus doesn't say, well, you can't give that which is not yours, nanny, nanny, boo-boo. He doesn't bow down to him. He knows that Jesus knows he is going to receive these one day, that they will be his, but every appearance is Satan could offer the kingdoms of the world because at this point, he is the prince of the power of the air. He is the God of this age. He is the one who has all of these things that are shown to him by Satan in Matthew chapter 4. Now, let's go to 1 Thessalonians 2:18. In 2:18, we have Paul and Silas here who are trying to get there. It says, wherefore we would have come unto you, even I, Paul, once again, but Satan hindered us. Now, a couple of ways we can take this. One is we can take it in a very literal way. Satan hindered us. Probably, from everything we know about Satan's work up to this point, I'm just going to go with Satan hindered us. Almost certainly he used some officials or weather or roadblock, whatever it was. Maybe I shouldn't doubt this, but I doubt that Satan showed up in their hotel room. I think they were staying at the Hilton, if I'm not mistaken. Showed up at the Hilton and locked their door so that they couldn't get out. And he stood there guarding it. I doubt it was in that way he was hindering. But so he's working behind the scenes, but he's doing that work of hindrance that is taking place there. And I think that Paul is not really talking metaphorically, the influence of Satan hindered us. Is just, no, Satan, I wanted to go, but Satan hindered us. So there in the, all of these, except for the Matthew passage, have been Pauline. In fact, all of them have been first century, from Jesus' temptation through, again, the prince of the power of the air, the God of this age, the spirit that worketh in the children of disobedience, the one who is offering Jesus the kingdom of the world, the one who's hindering Paul and Silas as they're desiring to go to Thessalonica. He's doing all this work to stop them. So he tempts, he produces a spiritual blindness, blinds those so they can't see the gospel. He obstructs ministry and missions. He works in a systematic and a tangible way. He does something strategic to stop something. Now, let's just stop right there and camp out on that a little bit. Most of the Christian world is not what I would call a right divider. So most of the Christian world would say, hey, Pastor, you just showed me that he has the kingdoms of the world. He's the God of this age. He's the prince of the power of the air. He hinders work and ministry. He keeps people from seeing the gospel. And therefore, that is what he does today. Now, maybe that is correct. But again, a good right divider like we are is going to say, well, I know that is what he is doing, absolutely. But is he doing it today? A good right divider is very, 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 very overly careful. How's that? Persnickety. About not taking something that was descriptive of another time and place and making it descriptive of all things. Now, if we can find something that tells us it is descriptive of all things, we certainly would want to go for it. Or even if, hey, all the evidence says never stopped, never changed, I can't find anything that's different between then and now, and therefore he must be doing all these things, even then we would say, my position is, this is what he's done, this is what he's doing, But I just want to lay that out there as we go on, because we are going to be ye persnickety, there we go, and carry out some of these things. So there's what he's done on earth. Now, let's go. He's done actually a little bit more on the earth. He has been, let's go to John chapter 8, verse 44. We see something else about the work of Satan, where the Lord says to Israel, the scribes and the Pharisees especially, it says, ye are of your father the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do. He, the devil, was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. Okay, he is a liar and the father of lies. Now, if he's the father of lies, by the way, then all lies proceed forth from Satan. Can we lie today? How do you know when a politician is lying? Yeah, his mouth's moving. So, can we lie? Yeah. Could we say if he's the father of lies, then lies, in some form or fashion, are satanic. They come from him. They originate from him. He might not be the one speaking it as he is in the Garden of Eden, but the Garden of Eden, really you would have to say, is the first lie. You know, he was taking the truth and twisting it and perverting it and fabricating it and changing it to something else and doing it very subtly and introduce lies to the world. So whether or not Satan comes in and tells you, hey, say this instead of that, cover this truth and share this falsehood, he doesn't really have to tell you. He just introduced the method and the means of doing this. This is the way you go about this. So he's a liar, and he is the father of lies. Now, in addition to lies, of course, you've got you've got all the I don't know, the little white lies, the big lies, whatever you've got, and theological lies, moral lies, cultural lies, false doctrine, distortion of truth, whatever it is, destructive ideologies. As the father of lies, then, he also comes, 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14, tells us an interesting kind of thing as we're thinking of ontologically, where is Satan in his essence? What is he today? Is he crawling on the ground? Is he an angel of light? Is the ontological issue? Is he still the anointed cherub and appears like that? Or is he an anointed cherub that's now crawling on the earth? Or is he a snake? Or is he redheaded? Redheaded, I didn't mean that. Is he red with a pitchfork? You know, what is he? What's he got there? But Paul comes along here in 2 Corinthians 11:14, says, no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Okay, that tells us, at least in the first century, he was able to, and notice it says Satan himself. Now, he's actually talking about false teachers here. He says false teachers are doing Satan's work, and that's no surprise because Satan himself. An apple falls not far from the trees, what he's saying about these false teachers, and are transformed into an angel of light. Now, probably what we could say, I don't know if it answers any questions about who Satan is ontologically today, but what we can say is he's not an angel of light. That's not his position. But he would like to. He'd like you to think he is. And in that transformed, it uses the word angel there, not a cherub, but he's transformed as an angel of light. You know, in some way, is he able to actually show up? Or again, is this speaking more of the work that he manages to do? But I think you all would agree with me that there is a subtlety about Satan that you don't really see exactly the full picture of what he is as he carries out this masquerade that goes on. And so his primary weapons are deception and truth. Okay, let's jump to another one later in the New Testament, 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8, a familiar one that tells us a little bit about the work of Satan in the first century when it says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary. Now, Peter happens to be speaking to Jewish people, tribes that are scattered around in the dispersion there. And so your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. Now, I don't think, by the way, that tells us anything ontologically about Satan, that he looks like a lion. Whitney and the kids left early last night, and they saw a lion on the way home. Wasn't that cool? Hallie told me, said, Mom saw a lion last night. I was crossing the road, a mountain lion. But then she said, it had a long tail, but it didn't have a puff at the end of it. I said, no, mountain lions don't have that. They just have a tail. But anyway, I doubt it was Satan that was crossing the road there. Satan was dead in the middle of the road, stinking like but anyway, that might have been at your house. Maybe he was headed to the heavenly council. Might have been. Anyway, as a roaring lion, this is describing the way he's doing this, an adverb there. As a roaring lion walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. Again, that's talking about his subtlety, about the deception that he would use, some of those things that are described there, and highlights the predatory nature that Satan had, as calculated, as observant, as ready to strike, as waiting for just the right moment. And I think you and I would agree that whether or not Satan is directly working in the world today, the work of Satan in the world today is like a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour, just watching for the right moment, and when that moment comes, that's when he's going to strike, because he's been observant, been ready to take it, and that quiet subtlety that comes along all the way. And so again, he says, be vigilant, be sober, be vigilant. Gotta recognize that this is happening, so that you don't have a weak spot, a weak moment that he comes in and uses as you are unsuspecting or unguarded. Now, in religion, of course, Satan does a lot of work in religion, deeply involved in counterfeiting religion, in messing up religion, in making religion to not have the power that it can and should have. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 9. And this is actually, I think, speaking about something that is going to take place in the future. And here it's talking about the Antichrist, but it says, even him, the Antichrist, whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders. Okay. Not a surprise that a cherub would have power and signs, the ability to do some things that are beyond our ability to do. And yet these, like everything he does, is the father of lies. These are lying wonders. And so there is certainly the point, the idea that comes across, that he is able to do things that are absolutely spectacular and beyond what we would expect and be able to do. The other day, I think I told this on Ask the Theologian, but I'll go ahead and say it again. I was playing with Miles, and we had some magnets, and they were decently strong magnets, and so I put it together and said, look, it won't go. And I said, you try it. And he took it and that won't go together. Looked at me like, that's freaky. That was his words. That's freaky. Okay, he didn't say that's freaky. But he sure had that look. That's freaky. And so then I flipped one and said, look, it still doesn't work. And then I flipped both of them. Or maybe I flipped both of them first and said, look, it still doesn't work. And then I only flipped one. And boom. That's freakier. What's up with this? Okay, it's a magnetic force field, in case you don't know. It's not magic, but it sure looks like it when you got a 2-year-old, right? It's like, whoa, this is weird. What's going on here? That's kind of weird for a 60-year-old too, but I don't know how all that works. But there's a lot of things. This it's an invisible force of nature. Well, Satan, the cherub that covers, he has ability to work with these invisible forces of nature and even probably to change physiologically some of the forces of nature. So he's able to come about, at least he was in the first century. He was working, or in the future with the Antichrist, he is going to be working the power, doing the work of Satan with all powers and signs and lying wonders that will take place. Let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1, in which Paul warns about the doctrine of devils. Speaking of the latter times, some shall depart, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. Okay, demonic doctrine. This obviously would be planted by Satan. It's a doctrine that has a lie in it. It's doctrine that is deceptive. It's doctrine that's not what it appears to be, but a lot of people go for it. And so Satan's spreading error within the faith itself. And not only does he transform himself as an angel of light, but we won't go there, but 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 14 and 15 talks about some of the works that he does. And he transforms himself into ministers of righteousness. That, hey, this is he's a pastor. How could he deceive, right? I mean, he's a man of the cloth. And yet the scripture talks about Satan distorting spiritual truth through ministers of righteousness. In Israel, I think that over and over, there is a satanic attack on Israel, which really goes back into its earliest days of Israel as a nation, and I'm talking about in the days of the Exodus, not 1948, but earlier than that, in the days of the birth of the nation, how there is this continual satanic attack. This is where I would say he definitely is the accuser of our brethren. He is the accuser of the Jewish people. And honestly, I almost think that's all he really cares about, is destroying Israel and being an attack against Israel. I doubt, I don't know if this is humility or stupidity, but I doubt he's all that concerned about how many viewers I have on YouTube. Oh, he's gained 3 today. What am I going to do? Oh, my kingdom. Randy White's taking it away. He probably doesn't care. But Israel does have a future plan, a future part in God's plan. Really, God can't fulfill his promises if he can destroy Israel. And Satan is more interested in being God than he is being Randy White. Satan would rather say, I tried this before and I didn't get that spot. But fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. I am going for it. So if I can get it to where God can't fulfill his promises, then God has to step down. He has to resign or retire or whatever God does when he can't fulfill his promises. So aiming it at Israel really does make sense and answers a lot of questions in the world of why has there always been so much hatred. Before they owned MGM even, people hated the Jews before they were bankers and jewelers and all that kind of stuff. There's been a Jew hatred really going all the way back into you see it in Haman in the days of Esther, you can go back any page through history from Moses onward and find there was somebody trying to wipe off Israel off the map. And it's strange that that the world has never really cared about wiping any other people off the map so much. There have been some wicked regimes and wicked people and wicked leaders. Sometimes we want to kill the leader, get rid of that, Idi Amin or something like this. But where was that? Uganda? Uganda. Idi Amin. But nobody's trying to get rid of all the Ugandans. And nobody has a Ugandan hatred or a Cambodian hatred. There's a Pol Pot that comes along every now and then you're like, okay, after that we got it taken care of. But the Jewish people, it honestly, I'll go to the modern day. It doesn't really matter if you've got Netanyahu or you got Shimon Peres or you got Golda Meir or whoever, Menachem Begin, whatever. It doesn't matter. Get rid of the Jews. We want them all gone. Okay, why is that? Why this, relatively small segment of the population, and yet there's always been somebody who wanted to take that off the map and be done with that forever. Well, again, maybe it's because of the work that he does against Israel. Let's go, we were there once, but I think it's Revelation 12:4. It's in the book of Revelation. And it may be farther along than verse 4, actually. But in this, there is the word about Satan that comes along and brings, put Revelation 12 in there for me. Here's this woman who appeared in heaven. She's with child. Appeared another wonder in heaven, the great dragon, 7 heads, 10 horns, 7 crowns upon his head. I don't know. Maybe we should have picked up on that when we're talking ontologically. What does he look like? What is his nature? We know that the cherubim that we have seen have 4 faces. He's the cherub that covers. This is not completely un-cherub-like to have all these heads and horns and crowns upon his head. Again, it's the book of Revelation. It could be descriptive. But it could be apocalyptic, symbolic literature, but it could also be descriptive. So we were in, the tail drew the third part of heaven. The dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. Now, this is, the woman here, I think, is Israel, and the child, of course, is the Messiah. Well, that was 2,000 years ago. That he desired to consume the child. She brought forth a man-child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. Her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. Okay, first century stuff. It's done. It's finished, right? But it goes on. After that, the woman fled into the wilderness where she had the place prepared of God that they should feed her there 1,260 days. And there was a war in heaven, and Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and prevailed not. The dragon was cast out, the old serpent called the devil. He's cast out, and if we get down here eventually, we looked at the accuser of our brethren is cast down. And now, woe to the inhabitants, but here we go down to verse 13. When the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. And the woman, and to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle. By the way, that's not a 747. That she might fly into the wilderness unto her place where she was nourished for times and half a time. It's talking about things that are going on in the future and things that are going on in the past. I kind of think if you've got something that's going on in the past and something that's going on in the future, there's some sort of bridge that goes here. And this desire that Satan has in destroying Israel. Probably politically, he is far more interested in destroying the Jewish people, the Jewish nation. Now, I want to be careful the Jewish nation today is in the state of Israel, but it doesn't matter if you have the state of Israel and don't have the state of Israel. He wants to get rid of the Jewish people. It doesn't matter, again, if the state of Israel gets wiped off the map. He's not satisfied with that. There's still Jews that live there. Got to kill the Jews too. Because they'll bring up another nation, another state of whatever it is that they're going to call. Isaiah?
So you're calling the devil a cherubim?
Yes, I am calling the devil a cherub, because he's singular. So we cannot call him a cherubim. Got to make sure Isaiah gets this right. And in bringing this in with the 7 faces, I think it had, or 7, did it say 7 faces? 7 heads. There's a possibility that we only know about the cherub in the book of Ezekiel and that there are other cherub. There's the possibility that Ezekiel is only describing one of the heads of the cherub. It has many eyes. Maybe he's telling us this one head and there's actually 7, which makes 7 times 4 is 28. 28 times 7 is several eyes. Maybe that's, so it's hard telling. You get, it's a little bit like, I think this is a good illustration, a little bit like the blind man describing the elephant, or the group of blind men describing the elephant, that old story. And, some of them say it's like a tree, some of them say no, it's like a wall, some of them say no, it's like a rope. And it just depends on which part they're describing here that you may have. But Satan certainly comes out here, and he comes as one who is against Israel. And again, when I say Israel, I mean the Jewish people that come, because he wants to get rid of that. Now, all of that is descriptive of the things that Satan has done. I want to talk for our purposes for the rest of this session on what is Satan doing today. Now, when I say Satan here from this part on, I'm not only going to talk about Satan himself, but I'm also going to talk about his demons that are working with him. What is the role that is taking place? And I think the common view in most traditions is that Satan has been active down through the dispensations, as we've talked about. We've given plenty of examples of what he has done down through the ages. And he is viewed as still doing that. He's done all that. He still does all that. He manifests all that today. So if he's ever possessed, then he still possesses. If there's ever been an apparition, he still does apparitions. Miraculous signs and counter signs, still does all that. So Satan and his demons still carrying out all of that work. Now, I want to present to you a minority view. A minority as in me and Everett. Do you hold to the view, Everett? Yes. Good. Because it's your birthday, and I would hate to ruin your birthday. I don't know how I knew that. That just came to me. We do have a birthday boy in the room, and it's Everett. He was trying to keep it a secret. I won't tell anyone, Everett, I promise. But Everett and I hold to a view, and several of you as well, of what I'll call the silence of Satan. Now, I get that from a book. I borrowed part of the title of a book and went further with it. Sir Robert Anderson, who is a very impressive figure. He was Brit. He was at one time with Scotland Yard. He was an investigator. Investigators make very good theologians, investigators, engineers, accountants, all those people that look at things in a persnickety way. And he worked on the Jack the Ripper case and believes he knew who Jack the Ripper was, but you'll have to read his stuff for that. And then also got into theology and wrote a book. One of his most famous book, I think, is called The Silence of God. He wrote a number of books, but The Silence of God is one of them. Now, in that, he doesn't argue for the silence of Satan. He argues for the silence of God. What he says is, we are in a dispensation of grace in which God is not actively intervening in the world. Don't take it as God is not alive, or God's gone on vacation, or God doesn't know, but that God is not actively intervening. You go do what you want to do, I'll see you later. Is a short version of that view. We do have that book, by the way. I don't have it back here, but we probably have some in stock here in the building. We have it, and Corey Evans, a few years ago when he was here, I had him update it for today's language, because it's about late 1800s, early 1900s that Sir Robert Anderson writes this, and it uses some kind of old British terminology. It can be a little hard to read, so Corey updated it for those of us who live in Taos in the modern day. And both of them are in the same book. It's a bargain. You should get that. Interesting read, anyway. The Silence of God. Now, I've gone, really, I would say, a step further and say, okay, if we have a silence of God, do we also have a silence of Satan? And this is the minority view, is this silence of Satan that says in the dispensation of the grace of God, Satan's direct work is restricted. His direct work, he and his demons, just like God and his angels, is under a restriction. So that says then that overt manifestations of the work of Satan, or direct manifestations of the work of Satan, are not occurring today. What I'm saying is, I don't believe today that there is, let's say, demonic possession. I don't believe that there are visible apparitions of the demons or of Satan, of his work. I don't believe he's doing the miraculous signs. I don't believe that we even need to be working to bind Satan because he is, in a sense, already bound to the same agreement, if you will. Maybe you could even call it a ceasefire a little bit in the dispensation of the grace of God, in which God said, okay, I have brought you, speaking to humanity. I'm going to speak on God's behalf here. That's kind of dangerous, isn't it? But I have brought you a perfect revelation that you can read. It will make you complete unto every good work. You can understand the full thing. You have in the very created makeup of the world, you have a physical world that will limit where you can go and what you can do. And you have dominion over this physical world, and you can take and you can use this all for your purposes. And I've given you dominion of the world, and giving you dominion, I don't really need to sit and babysit you. You can carry this work out on your own. And I'm going to let you. I'm going to let you be the full humanity whom you've said. We're going to back out. By we, I mean God and his angels. I'm not coming down. I'm not giving new revelation. I'm not, directly working miracles in people's lives. The miraculous happens. Did I tell you about playing with magnets? Things that we can't see and explain, things that, this happens, whether it's with the physiological world or sometimes even outside, happens, but God's not directly intervening today. If God, I know that this is a bit of an offensive concept in Christianity today, because we like the idea of God directly intervening. But at the same time, if God is directly intervening, I would like him to intervene in a few areas. There's a lot of stuff I'm like, God, why are you letting that one go? Why aren't you addressing this? Why do the wicked prosper? By the way, if you go into the Bible, you see there's a lot of times God didn't directly intervene, right? In fact, theologians don't mind talking about the 400 years of silence between the Old Testament and the New Testament. They just don't like to talk about silence that we're in now. That was only then. not now. I think we're in a period in which God is not directly intervening. He's letting things run. Now, if that's the case, and God says, hey, Satan, I am not having a ceasefire so that you can go and do all your work and destroy everything, so you got to back off also. You can't directly do your work. And that doesn't mean that we don't have the work of God in our world today, nor does it mean we don't have the work of Satan in our world today. Because both of them planted enough seeds that the fruit of their work still is being carried out today. We're doing it right here this morning, in Bible study and rightly dividing the word. This is the fruit of others who have gone on before us that we're carrying out. Well, Satan certainly has done the same thing. You get these ideas. Ideas almost never die, right? Somebody's going to pick up the idea again and take it and run with it and go in that direction. So this minority view here says, okay, Satan and his demons are not actively working. They're inactively working today. And so they're not inhabiting bodies. They're not doing spiritual phenomenon. I know I have mentioned this to you before, but somewhere, I was in high school, I remember this, and when you're in high school, you like to talk about the spirit world and all the weird things that are going on out there, and La Llorona and everything else that's all there. I don't believe in witches, but they exist. So I remember some classmate of mine saying, do you know, if you look in the mirror in the dark, you'll see the devil staring back? Well, that planted itself in my mind. And every time I went in the bathroom, which had a very big mirror on it, I always, at night, I would always stick my hand in and turn on the light and then go in, just in case. Because you kind of had to stare at that mirror as you're turning the light on if you're doing it in the dark. Now that I hold to the silence of Satan, I go in the dark bathroom and I look towards the mirror and I go, bah. Because I'm not scared anymore. Because, Satan's not staring back from the mirror, okay? It's not happening. And it's amazing how much fear leaves you by a perception of something. I don't even know where they came up with that dumb thing, were any of you told that and, needed years of counseling? Nobody else heard that, huh? So it's just some friend that made it up, and I happened to hear it. And you live years in fear and bondage because of what the devil's doing out there. Well, maybe for me it was, looking in the mirror or whatever. But there's a lot of concepts of spiritual warfare and whatnot that we put ourselves under a bondage that we don't really necessarily need to. Yeah, we've heard sometimes, if you go out and begin to do a good work, what a wonderful work God is doing in our church. Someone told me Wednesday night, they said, if we're not careful, we're going to have to be America's greatest medium-sized church. Okay, got a nice crowd. Everybody's here. We're no longer a tiny church. Now we're America's greatest medium-sized church. But then, in an evangelical world, someone would immediately come and go, good things are happening. You better watch out. The devil, he's going to come. He's going to work on it. And we begin to get scared of looking at a mirror in the dark, I think, is what happened when actually, it's probably more of us that'll mess it up than the devil will mess it up. We don't even need the devil in order to accomplish the mess ups that we can accomplish all on our own. The devil is the father of lies. He's got a lot of little lying children out there, that carry out the work going on. and continuing. And so with that, it comes down to, is there a place in the Bible that says, hey, he's done all this work that we looked at this morning, he's done all this work. Is there a place that says he does not do it anymore? Not really, not directly. So you don't have to buy this silence of God or this silence of Satan. But let's look at a couple of passages. Let's go to Ephesians chapter 3, verses 2 and 3. And this is where Paul speaks about the dispensation of the grace of God. And he says of this particular dispensation, if you've heard of the dispensation of the grace of God, which is given me, you word, how that by revelation he made known unto me the mystery. Now it goes on and says, I hope you understand about this. This mystery, I'll get those words up there. In verse 3, made known unto me the mystery. Verse 5, which in other ages was not made known unto the sons of men. Okay. Here's something that was hidden. It was separated there. Now, let's add another verse. Let's also go to 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 19. So, Paul says, I've got a mystery. Nobody else knew about this. In other ages, it was not made known. It's now known because it was revealed to me, and I'm telling you about it. 2 Corinthians 5:19 says that God was in Christ, reconciling the world to himself, not imputing their trespasses unto them. Okay. Not imputing their trespasses unto them. But I saw once on the 700 Club that one of the presidents said something bad about Israel. It's probably Bill Clinton or something said something bad about Israel. And who did the 700 Club? Was that Pat Robertson? Yeah, Pat Robertson came out and said, there's going to be a great hurricane, a great economic earthquake, a great fall and a collapse because he's cursed Israel. And it didn't really happen. And how do you put that idea, every time you do sin, you're going to have this result? With, he's not imputing their trespasses unto them, which is in this age of grace, he's not imputing their trespasses unto them. Presidents do stupid things all the time. Congress does nothing, so you got to blame it on the presidents, right? They do stupid things all the time. And God doesn't judge the nation, or when they say, when they quote a Bible verse, then God's going to bless the nation. Stock market goes up when they quote Bible verses out of context, and it goes down when they, don't defend Israel. We get this idea, and yet the concept that is given in the dispensation of the grace of God is he's not imputing their trespasses unto them. He's offering a gift of salvation. He's given us the Word. The Word doesn't come back void. The Word does its work. Let's add another few scriptures to this. Let's go to Colossians chapter 2, verse 15, in which Paul speaks again, I think in a current sense kind of way. He says, speaking of Christ on the cross, having spoiled principalities and power, he made a show of them openly, triumphing over them in it. So here's this idea of Christ's victory as the basis of restraint. Okay, I have won this thing. I'm going to tell you exactly what it is that you can do. Here you notice it's in his resurrection that he spoiled principalities. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 2, verse 14. And it says to us, we just got the devil in the computer again. Hebrews chapter 2, verse 14 talks about the one who had power over death. And it is referring to the devil. It's referring in times past, the one who had power over death. And yet let's see, he himself also likewise took part in the same, that through death he might destroy him, Satan, that had power of death, that is the devil. Okay, so we've got this time now in which there has been a victory, there has been a power over death. He has spoiled the principalities and the powers. And so we've got the ability now to say, okay, God can tell Satan, you don't get to do this work. You don't have the kingdoms of the world anymore. You don't have the prince. You're not the prince of the power of the air anymore. That's what you were, but I'm stopping it. I'm stopping it right now. But God says, I am not stopping the history of the world. So carry on, everybody, but you're carrying on your own. You have the Bible, you have the lies of Satan, you have the physiological world, which tells us the truth of God that we can look into and see the invisible things of God. We got everything we need to live godly lives, to know who God is and what He wants. So there's no need for, again, these direct revelations, direct interventions, direct miracles, either on God's part or on Satan's part. I think he has left us to our own devices, in a sense, and begun carrying these out. So spiritual warfare then in our day becomes a very different kind of thing, doesn't it? Spiritual warfare becomes me at war with myself, maybe. Am I going to do that which is spiritually God-honoring or spiritually God-hating? What am I going to do? Am I going to participate in those things of the world that will bring about a better life, a better community, a better society? Or am I going to do those things which will only be self-serving and for me and, get all you can all you get, and sit on the can? There we go. What is it I'm going to do? It's me and you and us that are making these decisions that are bringing about blessings to the world or bringing about curses in the world. I think that's the kind of world we live in. Now, again, that's not all that popular because I think psychologically we would rather say the devil made me do it. Or we would rather say, the only way that all these evil things can take place in our government and the governments around the world is Satan is back there doing it. I think we underestimate ourselves, underestimate our ability to do bad, and underestimate our ability to do good. Either way, we can be amazed at what one man can do, or what a coalition of men can do, as Satan and the father of lies. So when you get to passages like we've already looked at before, Satan hindered us, or Satan appears as an angel of light, or there's spiritual wickedness in high places, it's exactly what he was doing. But today there is a restraint of that. Let me show you a little bit of example. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians if we can get there. Yeah, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, beginning in verse 7. And here he's speaking in the future, of the future. He says, "The mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And then, when that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the work of Satan, with all powers and signs and lying wonders, with all deceivableness and righteousness in them that perish." Now, we could dig into that for a long time, but what you see in there is some kind of restraint today, right? Some kind of restrainer holding back the Antichrist, holding back the work of Satan to what is going to come in the future. This is the closest verse I can get to say, look, it says right there, Satan is restrained. I think that explains why we don't have demon possession like we did in the New Testament. There was a lot of demon possession in the New Testament. I think that it was a unique time of spiritual warfare, and the restraint of Satan was not there like it is today. Today, it's not there. The same with miracles. I mean, you see it in the book of Acts. The book of Acts starts out with a whole bunch of miracles and ends with not enough miracles, right? Ends with Paul's in prison and people are sick and can't get a miracle to fix them. And what's happened with the miracles have dropped off, but so have the satanic possessions, the working of Satan that you see at the beginning, with the sorcerers and all those things that are, people telling the future and everything. There's all this work of Satan is so clear at the beginning of Acts, and it's not at the end of Acts. Maybe this restraint came in, this age of silence that we live in, and we are here in which Again, spiritual warfare has become much more of an internal thing, or a battle of ideas, a battle of doctrines, a battle of concepts that are out there. I'm not saying it's all completely internal, because there is the fact that you've got to work against some of the doctrine of demons that was already out there and continues to get spread out there today. So someday, as we see in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, there is going to be a removal of the restraint. A lot more we could talk about that, but there will be a release. And then when that release comes, there is going to be all the power and the signs and the lying wonders and the deceivableness that will come. In fact, he talks in that same passage about the deception that people will be under. They'll be under the sway of the one who is the most subtle of, more subtle than all the beasts. He's going to come back. He is going to do his work someday again in heaven. In fact, let's look at one of those examples, Revelation 13, verse 13 and 14. And here it tells us, again, talking about the future, Revelation 13, says, and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of these miracles, which he had the power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make the image of the beast, which had the wound by the sword. A number of things you can see in the book of Revelation that he really is going to be strong and powerful and working and carrying out. So I want to talk just in a minute about the future of the work of Satan, but let's understand, if there's this silence of Satan today, what are some of the practical implications for believers and for the church today? I think that if Satan is silent, that should shift our focus to doctrine and truth rather than, I'll go with superstition. Rather than superstition. I almost now, because I so don't care about superstition, if there's a ladder, I'll go out of my way to walk under it. If there's a black cat, I'm going to circle him. All of the things that we get, woo, I'm like, no, let's go by truth. Let's go by doctrine. Let's go by science. Let's follow that which is in the physical and the real world today that the Lord has given us dominion over, and let's begin to carry that out. So the battle today is not really a mystical battle, a mystical spiritual warfare battle. The battle today is really a battle for truth, a battle for correct thinking. I've often said my job as a pastor is to change the way you think. That's what I'm here to do, is change the way you think. Quit being so superstitious, okay? And just get down to what do we know. So we're not called to confront demons and break curses and bind Satan and perform deliverance and all the things that a lot of ministries are set up to do out there. What we've got to do is stand firm in the truth, and in order to stand firm in the truth and live the truth, of course, we've got to know what the truth is. We've got to get into it, and we've got to carry that out. And so the hardships that we encounter really aren't, I don't think so much, they are the attack of Satan on our lives or on our church or on our community. Rather, they're the realities of the fallen world that we live in. They're the realities of bad thinking that people have, and we indeed do need to change the way they think. And so it also tells us, hey, if God really has said you've got everything, then there is a sufficiency to grace that we come and we live in grace, and we're sufficient in that. I am complete in Christ. And so we are overcomers in that sense, and there is a power of the rightly divided word, being able to put things together and come to understand this. Now, so that I can finish by 11:30, let me speak of the future of Satan. Because there is a silence of Satan now does not mean there's not a future noise of Satan. It's going to come. I think after the rapture, when the church is removed out of here, then the mystery of iniquity, as I was talking about in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, talked about. Been hanging around Rich. Talking like a West Virginian there, aren't I? Yeah. As was talking about over there in 2 Thessalonians, the mystery of iniquity is, how come bad things happen in the world today and yet Satan is restrained? Well, it's because we think stupid, that's why. we got the doctrine of devils, we got bad thinking, we got bad interpretation, all these kind of things. But after this mystery of iniquity is no longer restrains, then let's go back to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 7. And he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. Odd talk there that we need to get down in and really define one of these days. But as you can see from that, there is something that stops right now, taken out of the way, and then shall that wicked be revealed. Okay, then Satan begins his work again in signs and lying and lying wonders and the powers that take place. Then, at that point, he begins to work again. And as this passage teaches, he begins to work primarily through the Antichrist, but not solely through the Antichrist. He is the dragon behind all of that. In the tribulation, he comes. And Satan works very clearly in the tribulation. In Revelation chapter 13, verse 2, the Antichrist receives his power from the dragon, Satan. His power, his seat, his great authority come from Satan. There are the Antichrist in Revelation 13, 4. It talks about how the beast, the Antichrist, performs signs, wonders, deceives the nation, demands global obedience. His work is definitely coming, is what I'm going to say. Eventually, there's going to be a war in heaven in Revelation chapter 12. And I think this is mid-tribulation. There's this war in heaven, and Satan is cast out of heaven. Said, I thought he was already cast out. Yeah, but he seems to have some access into this council in some way. He's cast out of heaven. And things intensify there. He goes after the devil, and let's just conclude with Revelation chapter 20, which almost concludes. We'll have to, Revelation chapter 20, beginning in verse 1, we'll look at. And there it says, in the future, at the end of the tribulation, I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key to the bottomless pit, and a great chain in his hand. He laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up, bound him for 1,000 years. He can deceive the nations no more. Set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years be fulfilled. This is the future of Satan. There is going to be a time of unbelievable active work of Satan, spiritual warfare, that Satan takes part in. But then he'll be bound for 1,000 years. And then let's jump down to verse 7 in this same chapter. At the end of the 1,000 years, what happens when the 1,000 years are expired? Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, shall go in to deceive the nations which are in the four corners, and speaks about them. Then in verse 9, they go up. Let's see. Let's jump down to verse 10, actually. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, I might add, have been for 1,000 years. And the devil shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. And he's done, right? In Satan. So, Satan comes from heaven, is depicted for us through the king of Tyre and the king of Babylon, was in the Garden of Eden. as a cherub, speaks to Eve, deceives Eve. Mankind gets kicked out of the garden. Different cherubim guard the entrance into the garden. And Satan is, he over time at least, becomes the prince of the power of the air, the god of this age. He really does take over things and at certain times especially can do absolutely whatever he wants to do. But God continues and is able to victoriously do all of his work until he defeats death and then says, okay, Satan, I am going to let all of this get out there, see what mankind wants to do with it. Let's leave it up to them without our direct intervention. And so your work can continue, but only indirectly. My work can continue, but only indirectly. That's the time we live in today. But someday it's going back to face-to-face spiritual warfare that is going to take place in this, and Satan is going to do his work, but eventually he will be cast into the lake of fire, and all the good people said, Amen. Amen. What's that old song? Joy to the world, the devil's dead. I barbecued his head. Don't worry about his body, I flushed it down the potty. And round it goes, and round it goes. My daughter taught me that one when she was in high school, so blame it on her next time she's here. But anyway, there will be an ultimate death of Satan. So if the devil doesn't like it, he can sit on attack. You all know that one, okay. Thanks for being here this morning. Tomorrow we are going to conclude talking about angels and Satan in the 9:45 hour. And I didn't bring my schedule up here, and I forgot what I'm going to talk about tomorrow, but it's on the schedule out there. 9:45 we'll have a 45-minute session, and then at 10:45 we will have our worship service, again with a shorter session. And then we got potluck lunch after that, and looking forward to dining in the fellowship hall with all of you to conclude the weekend. And thanks for spending your Saturday morning here on this today. No activities this afternoon, so you get the afternoon off to rest and relax and celebrate your anniversary. Are we all meeting you somewhere? Cook potluck lunch, and I got some pozole cooking. Is it cooking yet, or? It's in the process, okay. So we'll gather back here in the morning. Let me lead us in a word of prayer. Father, thanks for, again, the opportunity to look at Satan today especially, and the things that we know about him. It's certainly a beautiful yet ominous creature who, in pride, introduced sin into creation and then to Adam and Eve, and it's passed on down to us, and we struggle with the effects of that today, even if not the direct work of Satan in our lives. There's enough indirect work that we struggle with even just that. We're grateful that we're complete in Christ, that we've been given a dominion over this created world that has been given. We've been given the full revelation of the work of God, and it is a joy and a blessing to know this and to go out from here in confidence. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And again, those of you online, we sure appreciate you joining us. God bless you. You're dismissed for the day.